Hello, I'm Christopher McClure, and welcome to the Shift Show, where we bring spirit to bear on trending issues. And today's topic is self-esteem. I realize that self-esteem is such a pervasive issue I'll just say, in my life, and I can actually see for myself that it's a pervasive issue in everybody's life. And so I wanted to. I've been doing a kind of study of self-esteem, and it's a works in progress. It's definitely there's more things to be uncovered. There are more aspects to include, and there's going to be a better crystallization of the of the what I've done is created a chart, and there's going to be a better crystallization of that. But it's I've got something so far, and I'd really just like to encourage you to make comments, and if you have books that have you feel are particularly helpful in this regard, and in written about self-esteem, to go ahead and post those books in the and ideally to join the Welcome to the Shift Show group, and keep kind of organize all the discussion in that group, in that Facebook group. So I'm going to be sharing my screen because I want to show this chart for a good part of the video. So I will be you will see me up in the corner here in a little box, but I do want to be referring to this chart. So let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start the share. And so here's this. I use this is called the Enneagram. It's a 9-point, figure, geometric figure, and what they say about the Enneagram, the ancient Enneagram, is that any complete system of knowledge can fit within it. It's a way to organize phenomenon. And so I just want to bring your attention to this triangle that's right in the middle. This is kind of where we start. These are like the main components. And when we look at self-esteem, what I've come up with is that the main components of self-esteem are our expectations, and then our skills, and then the outcome. And just generally speaking, if we have say we have high expectations and we actually have the skills to support that, but for some reason we're not getting the outcome that we desire, this can create low self-esteem. We can feel like a failure. We can feel like the universe is punishing us, or there's going to be a cognitive dissonance between outcome and expectations, and that leads to a low self-esteem. Whereas if we we go ahead and we have this expectation, we have this goal, and we have the skills, and we use our skills, and we all of a sudden we start seeing results, that can really boost our self-esteem. We can really feel good about ourselves. So this is the main kind of the main. It's a triangle. These are all. This is the main part of this chart. And so, of course, there's going to be our will, or our ability to, discipline is maybe another word for it, but our willpower, our ability to apply ourselves to a goal, and what has to be done regarding it. That's an important factor. We can have like really good goal, and we can have skills, but we don't. It's like we try it once, and then we just stop, it's, the chances are we're not going to have an outcome, um, that, at least the outcome that we're looking for. And so will is an important component. Another important component is, and it's sort of like, it's the other side of this. If this is a coin, will and self-love, it's the other side of the coin, which is that, we need to be able to, it's easy to get hard on ourselves, to, bringing in this part down here, critical thinking, which can be valuable in assessing a situation, but it can also be like a ruthless taskmaster. And so the ability to be compassionate with ourselves, to appreciate ourselves for who we are and not for the circumstances, is really important in this process. It's like you in order to have a balance. That's what this triangle is representing here, is a balance. And in order to have a good outcome, our efforts have to be sustained. And in order for them to be sustained, there needs to be the component of self-love, which includes self-care and, many other things. And I'm going to be doing another video on self-love soon. But for now, we got enough to look at right here. Okay, so, our expectation, we can have our expectations are, in a way, this is the conscious, our conscious expectations, but our unconscious can have expectations too, and that's what beliefs are. It's like we can, I can be expecting. I'm a musician. I can be expecting to call up, 10 club owners and get a gig out of that. And if I have the belief that my music, my music is not accessible to the general public, there's going to be something sort of working against me right here. So beliefs, becoming aware of our beliefs, because they're usually under the surface. They're in the unconscious, and they're usually, there's evidence of them in self-talk. And this, I did have this as self-talk, but I realized there was kind of a deeper chart for that includes self-talk, and so I want to jump to that right now. I call it the crust, and this came from, I think, primarily from a coach, Margaret Lynch Rainier, and you can see self-talk is right here. And what this is like it's like the steps, the layers of the onion of wounding. Essentially, what it is, it's like we exhibit certain behavior when we're protecting, when our anger is protecting something, a shadow part of ourselves, a part of ourselves that we don't want to experience. And usually the reason we don't want to experience that shadow is because there's bad feelings, So we have this behavior that's kind of like, it can be kind of, quirky and skittish, and it's just strange, in varying degrees, strange behavior. And what would, and if we go beneath the behavior, if somebody says, hey, why are you doing that? Why are you acting that way? The tendency is to either resist, to fight them and say, what do you mean? Why am I being what way? Or to just, get the hell out of Dodge. It's like, sorry, I got to be somewhere. I'll talk to you later. That's like the layer underneath. It's like this layer of protection, and what's fueling that layer is self-talk. Self-talk are the things. Really, it's the unconscious speaking, but it bubbles up. Self-talk is, the way I experience it in myself, is it's it's like the bubbling up of things in the unconscious to the surface, of a pool, of the ocean. and and usually I can only catch snippets, like little words. It's like I'm listening for, it's like, what is it? What is that? What am I saying? What's there? I'm usually looking for some kind of message. It's like, what is my unconscious trying to tell me? But that's one way I can experience my self-talk. But I can also experience my self-talk that when I get triggered, you know, this voice comes in and starts, like, bearing down, and I might not even be aware of that for a while, or at all. I might not even be aware of what's going on there. And what's below that, what's beneath that level, is usually there's anger, and the anger is protecting that shadow. It's like the anger is protecting not only other people from getting into our shadow, but it's protecting us from getting into our own shadow. Um, so that's, there's a reckoning that has to happen where you have to go, okay, I'm angry, and so what is it I'm protecting? And usually then it will be revealed. And like I said before, the shadow usually is shadow. It's something we don't want to experience because there's usually bad feelings. There's some experience that we've had in the past that we weren't able to assimilate. We didn't have the consciousness, we didn't have the awareness to be able to hold that event. So we stuffed it, and including those feelings. And then, of course, what happens is that then a whole bunch of other feelings get layered on top of this fear and shame. And so, but when we're going down through the crust and we get here, it's like when we finally get to the point, okay, it's like, there is nothing else for me to do but to just feel this thing that's been chasing me around all my life. And usually when we do that, there's a surrender involved and a sadness. It's like, and part of the sadness can be, why have I spent my whole life running from this? It's like I finally, gotten to this piece of who I am, and why I've, it's kind of like sadness, grief over the time lost and stuff like that. But once we actually feel those feelings, and in a sense the smoke starts to clear, there's a sense of space. It's like all of a sudden, all this compression that's been going on here, it finally kind of opens up into space, and then our initiative comes through, and we rebound, and we come into a whole new sense of wholeness. This thing that we've been avoiding, that we haven't owned in ourselves, becomes part of who we are, and we become bigger. So that's the crust, which goes right here. So you could see that there's, right at the bottom, this is like the no man's land, of this process. There's this whole deep psychological, complex that has to be dealt with. Okay, so moving on to critical thinking. Now, critical thinking, you might think when I say critical, you think, oh, that's the critic, that's the judge. Well, that's the negative aspect of critical thinking, but there's a positive aspect of critical thinking, which is the ability to objectively assess your situation and be honest with yourself, right? So you can look at, well, it's like I got this goal, I want to get a gig, and I've got the music, I got our band's doing, we're playing well, and we've got these recordings, and but the outcome, it's like, why are we not getting booked? And so the first thing, like I said, is to look at beliefs. It's like, what's underneath the surface that's acting as an obstacle. And there, there's, I just kind of went through with the crust, but there's different ways of working with this. One way that I found really useful is what I call sentence stems. I think I first came across this with I can't think of his name right now, but I will put a link in about that. But what those are is you say my belief is, my music is not ready for public consumption, or yeah. So let's see, not ready for public consumption, and then fill in the blank. Not ready for public consumption sucks. Not ready for public consumption um, means, I'm my music's too good for them. So there's not ready for public consumption means I'm not good enough. You see, there's like a victim, and there's also a perpetrator there. There's a, I'm I'm not good enough, and I'm too good. Like these people aren't good enough for me. It's. But once you go through that, and you can also do it kind of like people whose music who are not ready for public consumption are arrogant. It's like all these beliefs start to kind of come up that you didn't really even realize you had. And when you find the ones that are particularly charged, so say like people, just let's just say that this was charged, people who are not ready for public consumption are arrogant. Then I can take that statement and I can pivot, right? Pivot means that I take what it's saying, and I move 180 degrees from it. So the pivot from arrogance for me is humility. So I can ask a question: how am I humble regarding my music? And humility, I just to be clear, for me does not mean it's not like I'm not good enough. It means that it's like it is what it is, and I'm open to where what it is and how it can affect the world. It's a neutral kind of place. So I can ask the question. The way I like to phrase the pivot is with an empowering question, which would be, how am I humble regarding my music? You know, yeah, and so and that can actually become, like an affirmation that I can, sync up with my heartbeat, for instance, and which creates like an entrainment with my system. Okay, so that's just like one way of working, with the beliefs. Critical thinking will also, it's like I might realize that as I'm, um, well, suppose I got the gig, finally got a gig, and now I need to, but part of what's expected with part of what's expected of me regarding that gig is to get people to show up. So I might realize that, oh, I need to develop some marketing skills, or maybe I know marketing somewhat, but there's a particular part of marketing called copywriting that I really need to like hone in on. I really need to like put some make a flyer that really captures people's attention, and so this critical thinking is being used to assess the situation, and to see what actually, how I need to change this dynamic. And maybe my expectations need to be higher or lower. Maybe I'm expecting I need to get 100 people into this gig, but when I actually look at the other bands that have played there, if they can get 25 people in, that's actually pretty good. And so it's like I'm using my critical thinking to assess the situation, and of course that brings in the element of self-love and compassion. And all the time, honesty is like a key factor here. It's like the ability to just really be honest, and it's like even when it's painful, you still look for the truth of the situation. All right, so say I've done all this work, and I've got the skills, and I've worked with my beliefs. There's this element of time that and patience, that's important. I've been reading A Course in Miracles over the last year, maybe year and a half, and one of the single things I've gotten from A Course in Miracles is this statement, and what it means. And the statement is, we are made in the likeness of our Creator. And what that means to me is that the Creator is, it literally, it literally, she, literally is the Creator. In other words, this whatever we want to call the Creator, God, or the universal thinking, consciousness, when it thinks something, it comes into being, instantaneously, because that Creator is in the realm, in a realm that's not as dense as the earth. And so when now we inherit that ability of the Creator, that we, whether we know it or not, whether we recognize we're doing it or not, we are creating. Even when we have negative thoughts, we're creating negative reality around those thoughts, but we're still creating, right? So when we take responsibility for that ability, for that capability of creating, and we also we also recognize that we're in a dense realm, at least the human condition is in a denser realm than in the realm of spirit, and that in a dense realm it takes time, because the realm is dense because it's being it's because it has the effects of time and space on it, and in the realm of time and space, there of course there is time, and in time it takes things, when there's no time and no space, things manifest instantaneously. When there is time and space, it takes time for that to happen. And so impatience here is an important thing. So say we've done all this work, and we've got the time, we're aware of the time element, we're just working, we're using our will, and we're working diligently, and there's still this element that is beyond our control. It's like we just don't have complete control of this, because it is the universe, and it's not just our own will, it's the universal will, really. And so that universe, our will, has to join with the universal will. And that then the element of grace, what I call grace, it's when, it's like the, I think is that Michelangelo, the Sistine Chapel ceiling painting of man's finger and God's finger touching, that it's like we meet God halfway, or God meets us halfway. And that element of grace helps to create an outcome that's actually in alignment with the universal will. So that is I'm going to stop my screen share now. And so that's the basically what I've come up with. And I would love any comments regarding this. Any yeah, I like this, what you did, but I have a different idea about this, or I read this book has a lot about to do about self-esteem, and I recommend it. I'd like you to post those things, beneath this video, at least beneath this video. Better yet, what I'd like you to do is to join Welcome to the Shift Show group, Facebook group, and post inside of there, and that in that forum we can have a much more in-depth, and it's organized. It's like when it's just on the timeline, it's kind of comes and goes, but when it's in a group, it's there. You come back to it, and it stays there. So yeah, thanks so much for listening. I hope that this has been helpful, and please comment, please put in any references, and ideally join Welcome to the Shift Show group. And it's been my pleasure to share with you today. Thank you.